Oh, yeah, yeah, trying the new bubble machine. Yeah, okay, silly idea. It's a little bit loud too, which is a little annoying. So I'll have to do something about that. But it's bubbles, which is really cool. Except you can't really, there's really a lot of them. Well, anyway, so this is a video. There'll be a walk and talk after this, and I just wanted, we did a thing on, the Spider-Man guy. Did a thing calling us cultists again, the same old bullshit rhetoric. What needs a fan? Yeah, or something like that. Anyway, yeah, a cult again. So it's back to the same old bogus arguments, and the same old silly stuff comes out of that. Oh, their members won't reproduce, and this whole connection to sex and reproduction, like somehow you can't have sex without reproducing. I mean, just really ignorant and dumb accusations. So I guess by their standards, evolutionists are generally speaking cultists, because they believe in something. Because it's only evolution plus that gets you to antinatalism anyway. I mean, all you have to do is add a little tiny bit to evolution, and you're at antinatalism, right? Because if you understand that evolution is just basically replication for the sake of replication, and that natural selection is basically just 4 billion years of gladiator war, no justice, no rules, no fairness, no concepts of any elegance or rationality or logic or any acknowledgement whatsoever of sentient welfare. Those two facts kind of just they kind of just scream, just those two alone. Whoa, this probably isn't going to look good. This is probably going to get messy. So yeah, and that's a cult. So if you believe in evolution, you're a cult member. If you recognize the need to analytically dissect existence and try to figure out exactly what this is made out of, you're just seeking some sort of religious gratification. You're seeking some sort of emotional support. You're dogmatic, right? Isn't that the implication of that? This really is cool. I mean, you have to see it from this perspective. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, really. Bubbles. It's bubbles. Look, it's bubbles. So anyway, I have to figure out how to do this really well. How to take advantage. This is it's kind of nice though, except when it does that in your eye thing. But yeah, it is making a little bit of a mess, but it's, kind of a friendly mess. I mean, as messes go, bubble juice isn't like the worst thing to have all over the place, I would imagine. As long as it doesn't get inside of something. I have to make sure it doesn't go inside something important and fry it. Like the monitor. Yeah, which it's getting a little close to, actually. Hey, stay out of there, fellas. Anyway, so enough of a pre-video. So on to the real video. It's sort of determinism a little bit, blah, 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 and such. And so forth. A little bit too loud, though. Yeah, I have to fix the too loud part. Whoa! Yeah, video. Some idiot making noises. There are idiots here, which is unfortunate. They are everywhere, apparently, even in a semi-paradiddle place. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. Got a birthday present or something. 3 boobs. I don't know what the hell. Whatever. Anyway, kind of dark. It's gonna rain. And I'm just so not quite right. But whatever. So what? What else is news? Alright, video. It's not really determinism, but it's probably going to go there. So if you're not in the mood, fly away. Fly. Starling. Anyway, yeah, so the other day, okay, so I was just one of these inspired little moments. So inside my own brain, it was doing its thing, right? It's been sprung by my life experience. It's had all this stuff thrown into it, all this learning of kinds and whatnot. And so it was doing some logic on its resources that already existed inside of it. In other words, I was thinking. I wasn't watching, I wasn't absorbing, I was just thinking internally, messing around with words and ideas and concepts. And my brain, my subconscious brain, said, haha, I think I have something here that might be of use. And it threw it into my consciousness. And I said, and my brain said, hey, that looks like something, fella. Well, anyway, so it's this idea of evolution idea of just looking at the DNA molecule and seeing its evolution in very simple terms. That what happens is, it has this nucleus where there's a membrane that protects the DNA. Oh, God, that was really gross. Spider jumped in my mouth. Fucking crazy bastard. Anyway, yeah, the only problem in paradise is there's bugs in it. Just somebody debugged the path for me. Anyway, Karina was walking right here the other day. She stepped right there. Right there. Anyway, I held these prickers out of the way for her. So I'm a gentleman. Oh, I didn't, yeah, pretty much. She didn't get prickered hardly at all. Yeah, hardly. Anyway, I should have trimmed that all before she got here. That was rather sloppy of me. I have been sloppy. Okay, so you have the nucleus, and so you have this first membrane that protects the nucleus. Okay, and the DNA molecule that's inside this shell. And then you have the second membrane, and the first membrane was pretty crude, but it started getting a little more complicated in that it trapped structures, mitochondria, all these other little things that do this energy processing, blah, blah, blah. And they have this second shield protecting them. And in a way, you could look at a fish and you could say, it's like another shield. It's like another membrane. Except this one can swim, and it has eyes and can do all this stuff, but it's basically just another membrane, another protective shield, because it pumps blood, seawater, and contains it inside of itself. It has some temperature regulation, and it can get away from predators, and it can get to food sources. And it's just basically a membrane with, membrane plus, membrane with some features. And essentially that's what we are. We're just another layer of membrane the DNA has constructed to facilitate its comfort, its protection, its function in the environment. And it's a membrane suited to the environment. We're built for the environment we capitalize. We don't live underground. We don't live 500 feet in the air. We're suited to this level of the universe and this size. And this is the membrane's manifestation for organisms in this niche. But that's all it basically is. It's just basically kind of a gnarly membrane with a kind of, shielding and, a few little ports for arrows and whatnot. And of course, ports for the vehicle, the roadway, the pathway for the process of DNA replication. But the rest of the system is still incredibly simple and crude. The sperm and the egg are really crude mechanisms, basically living in the membrane, being protected and kept safe and kept nurtured and comforted by the membrane, and that's what we are. So anyway, all right, so this is pretty good stuff, right? It's a good little kind of Dawkins-y kind of selfish genie kind of metaphor-y kind of description of evolution. So yeah, it's not bad, not bad. And it just came out of the reprocessing of information I already had received. So I didn't think of it. The thoughts, the ideas, the information I had already collected created it. It just shook it up like a Yahtzee and some dice. Not completely random, but in a similar process. It mixed up ideas, it bounced them into each other, and said, look, here's some puzzle pieces that arrange into a pretty fairly comprehensible simplification of the concept. It's, it's sort of meritorious. So it was all self-generated. So that's one source of our determinism, is the idea that maybe I watch a TV show when I'm 10 years old, the ideas or thoughts in it just roll around as a memory inside of me for 30 or 40 years. And then 40 years later it bumps into another idea I hear today. I watch a video, and those two things crash into each other, and bingo, peanut butter cup. You have something kind of good. You make something out of it. You create something new that your brain generated, and it generated out of your deterministic pre-knowledge or pre-spring tightening that made it possible. And conversely, there's this other way to change how you think. So this was a change in my thought. This will now be an idea. When I hear the word evolution, I'll think of my, membrane theory. Postulate, membrane postulate. I guess it's not officially a theory yet. It's a hypotenuse. Yeah. I'll either get hung on it or it'll be a floater. We'll see. But regardless, it's now an associated thing. Now the other alternative is almost like what you're doing now. You just heard me say something that I'm pretty sure is original, so I don't think you heard it before. Here it is flying into your brain as a new idea from the outside world, and your brain will do some similar interaction with it. It will say, yeah, kind of good, or it'll say, oh, that sucks ass, and it'll throw it in a category, and it'll either wind it into its understanding of the word evolution, or it won't, based on the springs in your head, based on the condition of your head. And if it catches, then I have changed you. I've changed the patterns of your thinking with that idea. And that's what I'm talking about, determinism. That's the two concepts here. There's the real world determinism, where the physics is all determined, where it's not an idea, it's an actuality. It's the actual determinism, the actual brain thinking of the idea, the actual brain communicating it to somebody else and changing their disposition. And so I'm using this evolution thing as an example, but it could be a moral code. It could be I could convince somebody it's not nice to beat your wife, and he would stop beating his wife. That could be the other example of a meme transferred from me to somebody else, or a meme he himself could realize after the fourth arrest, man, this isn't worth it. Maybe I'll go get some therapy. Maybe I'll figure out why I have a problem and need to take it out on that poor woman. And so he could come to the realization himself, or he could come to it because somebody else squeezes it into his head. But either way, he could be changed. And he will behave differently because of the change, because of a communication of a meme. And so that's what I'm saying here. There's a separation between real determinism, the fact that every idea is already preordained, that every action is preordained, and the fact that the word determinism, the concept of determinism, and how we understand it, and whether we understand it to make possible the change process, the inspiration process, understanding that, oh yeah, an idea is only going to exist if somebody invents it, or somebody thinks, or somebody does, or somebody talks. You have to communicate ideas for them to spread. You have to fight wars to win them. You have it's action that is the actualization of determinism. Thinking is just first process of action. And so that is deterministic also, but it must follow a pattern of if it's going to win, it has to follow the pattern of victory. If the idea is going to live, there's certain rules it has to survive if it's a winning idea or a winning suggestion or a winning goal. If it's going to be where we end up inevitably as a reality, we have to prepare for it. We have to take our fishing rod with us to the pond if we're going to catch fish. And so it's that kind of thing where this has to take place. You have to use determinism, the concept, to maximize our potential, not to minimize your potential. It, in effect, is going to affect your action. How you interpret the word will change how you behave or act in the world. And that is where this is critical. And has nothing to do with choice. It has to do with change. Words change people. They change your thought processes. They change everything about you. And so I'm arguing that it is essential to achieving a good future that people understand the need for a good future, first off, that it matters, and that they understand that to get to a good future, you may have to sacrifice. You may have to do things you don't want to do in a deterministic manner. You may have to assume yourself a hero, even though you may not be one. You may have to jump on a dead grenade. You may have to do something totally futile and stupid, but if you don't do it, if you don't have the mechanism in your head that says try is a good idea, then enough people won't try. And it's just like voting. If people get all disengaged like I am, if they become totally feudalistic, then yeah, evil will win. People have to show up and they actually have to vote for somebody to win. And they have to have the motivation to do that. And so my only objection is when we're going to define determinism, when we're going to have a conversation about it, yes, it's hard determinism. All action is cause and effect. All thought is cause and effect. But it's really important to understand that as we're involved in that script reading, we have no certainty about the future and therefore have a real kind of choice before us in terms of we are in the process of determining the future. And ideas you have to be able to distinguish gutter balls from strikes. You have to, if you're not open to judging your conduct, then you won't be able to discriminate between the conduct conducive to the future you would prefer to exist or the future you'd rather we avoid. You have to do some work in recognizing where it looks like we're going and modifying your behavior to that fact. I don't know if I said that exactly the way I wanted to, but it's like we don't know whether we're going fishing or whether we're going to a palace dance. And so we're in this weird position where we have to kind of dress for both. We have to be ready for either. We have to be ready to play our role, the right role. And it's just the truth of our circumstance. And all I'm asking is that when the word determinism comes up, it doesn't defeat your understanding of your role that you need to play, but that it instead, you are inspired, you are meme energized to realize that it all matters, that you may be a critical, functioning soldier in the battle, and that you have to stay frosty and focused. You have to have a devotion, a principle of devotion to being the best influence on the future you can be. Because from where you're sitting, there is that option. There you go. And such. Yeah, it's really enough. Yeah, I should have gone for a run. Yeah, just too tired. I'm just not. I'm just. I don't know what the hell I am. I prefer to be something else. I'm not quite right. I should recognize that and do something about it. Yeah, deterministically. Prepare for tomorrow today. Whatever. So, yeah, so I don't know if I fixed this quite. This probably wasn't quite right either. So I'll probably have to give this another try in the future and say it even better. Well, say it better, period. And such. Oh, I did hit the button. But we'll try it again.